Coming up on this Friday edition of Daybreak, timeline pushed back. South Korea and the United States make it official and agree to delay the transfer of wartime operational control of Korean forces from Washington to Seoul. New resolve. One day after a deadly shooting in Canada's capital, the country's prime minister vows to strengthen terror laws, giving more power to surveillance and security agencies. Emergency talks. The World Health Organization convenes to discuss the Ebola threat and reaffirms that stopping the outbreak begins and ends in West Africa. Daybreak begins now. Hello and welcome. It is 6 o'clock on a Friday morning here in Seoul. I'm Scott Thompson, filling in for Mark Broome, and you're tuned in to Daybreak. Our top story this morning: South Korea and the United States have agreed to postpone the transfer of wartime operational control of Korean troops from Washington to Seoul. The decision came at the annual security consultative meeting in Washington between South Korean Defense Minister Han Min-gu and his U.S. counterpart Chuck Hagel. The transfer had originally been set for the end of next year, and while the two allies did not set a new timeline, officials expect the transfer to take place sometime in the mid-2020s. According to a joint statement released after the meeting, the deal was made in consideration of the changing security environment in the region. That includes North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. It says the transfer will come after the environment allows for a stable transition and when the South Korean military is equipped with core capabilities and can counter threats from the north. And staying with the current security situation in the region, South Korea has sent another invitation to the north, asking that it attend a so-called 1.5 track meeting in Seoul that begins next Tuesday. The three-day forum will center on President Park Geun-hye's Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Initiative. Seoul's foreign ministry says invitations have been sent to officials and experts from nations including the United States, China, Japan, and Russia. The U.S. chief envoy for the six-party nuclear talks, Sidney Seiler, has already confirmed he will attend. If Pyongyang accepts their invitation, high-level officials from all the countries included in the long-stalled six-party nuclear talks will be present. Mention the United Nations here in Korea, especially among the older generation, and it's likely to spur memories of the Korean War and the UN soldiers who fought for the country. Today is UN Day around the world, and to commemorate it, students here met with a special guest to give thanks for those sacrifices. Kwon So-ah has her story.
United Nations Day is being celebrated across the world this October 24th with a goal of raising awareness of the organization's aims and achievements. The UN Charter to maintain peace and security around the world came into force after the Second World War ended in 1945. In Korea, the significance of United Nations Day lies in the huge role UN member states played during the Korean War in the early 1950s. But today, it's not commemorated on a large scale as it used to be when it was a public holiday. But that doesn't mean that Koreans have forgotten the sacrifices made by the hundreds of thousands of troops dispatched from 16 UN member nations. This group of students met with BBC broadcaster John Hardy, whose father Kenneth is a Korean War veteran, and thanked him.
I think Korea is doing a tremendous job keeping the awareness alive. Unfortunately, officially, I don't suppose that it's come to an end because we're still in an armistice stage.
The war veteran's son added how important he thinks it is for young Koreans to remember where they come from.
I think it's a really honor for us, for a person from the UK to come all over to Korea just to honor his father and giving us an opportunity to express your gratefulness towards them.
My friend had a grandfather who also participated in the Korean War, and he always added to his story that he still loved Korea and he still wanted to help Korea. So that's why this opportunity is really special for me.
Mr. Hardy says he wanted to visit Korea so he could pass on his father's legacy to his children and grandchildren.
It's almost like filling in a gap in our family history. I knew my father had been here. He didn't talk very much about it, and it's always intrigued me what went on during his time in Korea. Korea's been known as the forgotten war for too long.
Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
On the sidelines of the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference currently underway in Busan, a number of exciting conventions and exhibitions are taking place. One of them focuses entirely on big data, which has emerged as a vital tool for helping businesses grow. Our Kim Ji-yeon takes us there.
The Big Data World Convention 2014 is a chance for international businesses to share the ways they collect and utilize big data to improve operations and decision-making. Big data refers to a massive volume of both structured and unstructured data that is quite difficult to process using traditional techniques. At the event, US-based software provider Hortonworks explained the development and distribution of its open-source platform.
And what people are just realizing how to do is to take that traditional transactional data that they had before, data that they would get from a web form, data that they would get from their ERP systems or something, and marry it with data that's coming from sensors, from social media, from mobile, to try to get a better understanding of their products, their services.
Hortonworks and Korea-based tech giant SK CNC signed a memorandum of understanding in August to collaborate over big data. The deal means SK CNC will adopt the Hortonworks data platform to support its various big data analytic tools. This strategic partnership between the two companies is expected to maximize the way big data is integrated into various sectors in Korea, including telecommunications, finance, security, and manufacturing.
Korea's Science and ICT Minister Choi Yang-hee also participated in the event, saying that the country's information and technology sector needs to increasingly incorporate big data and that it falls in line with the government's creative economy initiative. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News, Busan.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
It's earnings season here in Korea. SK hynix is all smiles with its third quarter figures today, while Hyundai Motor and POSCO take a hit due to the strong Korean currency. Here's our Shin Se-min with a snapshot of Korea's corporate health.
Hyundai Motor's third quarter report card is far from positive. Its operating profit fell 18% on year to $1.5 billion, its lowest level in nearly 4 years. Net profit dropped more than 28%. The damage is mostly from unfavorable currency environment, with the strong Korean won and the weak Japanese yen offsetting strong sales in the third quarter. Besides the global trend that's been hitting many Korean exporters, another factor came from within, from its labor union. Work stoppages by some 47,000 unionized workers since August halted the company's production line multiple times. Looking forward, though, the world's fifth largest automaker is expected to bounce back in the next quarter.
The last quarterly report is looking bright for Hyundai Motor as the currency has stabilized since the third quarter and is likely to stay balanced. Also, unionized workers have reached an agreement with management, so if the manufacturing line runs smoothly, the company will churn out a better profit towards the end of the year.
Staying on the earnings front, chipmaker SK hynix posted record quarterly earnings in the third quarter thanks to increased demand for DRAM chips. The world's number 2 memory chip maker says its operating profit reached nearly $1.2 billion, up more than 11% on year. Increased demand for semiconductors used in smartphones and PCs led the way. And the nation's top steel maker POSCO posted a 43% hike in operating profit thanks to its high value-added steels, which shined in the third quarter. However, overall, its bottom line was down sharply by more than 60% as it was also hit hard by the strong local currency. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
It's no surprise that there is a vast asset disparity between the rich and poor here in Korea, but the rate of increase in that divide may be getting out of hand. A new report from the People's Solidarity for Participatory Democracy shows that assets belonging to the lower 20% of the income bracket expanded by a mere $50 between 2011 and 2012. During that same period, the top 1% saw their assets spike almost $370,000. An official at the organization said that the severe economic polarization will have a negative effect on consumer sentiment and revitalizing the economy. A little over 1/3 of foreigners working in Korea are getting a monthly paycheck of at least 2 million won, or about $1,900 US. Statistics Korea says that about 35% of all foreign workers in the nation, which represents a 6-point jump compared to last year. While the group earning 2 to 3 million won has increased the most over the past year, the group making 1 to 2 million won still took up the largest percentage. The study also found that a majority of foreigners work in manual labor, but that a significant number work in the areas of service and management. Fewer Koreans are celebrating their silver and golden wedding anniversaries these days. The number of so-called gray divorces, or divorces between couples who have been married for 20 years or more, has hit a record high here. Connie Lee tells us why.
It's until death do us part. Or not. New data shows that more older people are getting divorced in Korea. It's the so-called gray divorces, or the splitting of couples married for 20-plus years that have been on the steady rise for the past 5 years. And last year, it hit a new high. More than 32,000 of these couples ended their marriages in 2013, making gray divorces the largest portion of all divorces at about 28%. Experts point to the aging population of baby boomers for the large number. But other than that, there is a change in how older spouses view marriages that is prompting them to split.
Different from before, older spouses now seek their personal happiness and fulfillment, especially after their kids are out of the house. If they're not getting that in their marriages, then they are opting for divorce.
The professor adds that there's less of a social stigma attached to divorce than there was decades ago, making it a bit easier for couples to officially end their marriages in court.
So what were the top reasons why Koreans got a divorce last year? Well, data shows that personality differences was number one, followed by financial problems and domestic issues, such as infidelity.
However, gray divorce isn't just a trend seen in Korea. The United States has been seeing this phenomenon for similar reasons. A recent report called The Gray Divorce Revolution by Susan L. Brown and I-Fen Lin says that the number of gray divorces has doubled in the U.S. since 1990. And with lifespans increasing, experts expect more gray divorces in the future. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the international headlines we're following this Friday morning. For that, we'll turn to Eunice Kim standing by at the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Scott. Canada is still reeling from the attacks at the country's parliament building that left an honor guard and his shooter dead on Wednesday local time. Officials of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police at a press conference about an hour ago, even as the investigation continues, showing surveillance video from Parliament Hill. They said they believe 32-year-old Muslim convert Michael Zehaf Bibo had acted alone when he shot and killed reservist Nathan Surilo at the National War Memorial, hijacked a car, walked out with a firearm, and ran into a parliament building and struck horror. They said Zehaf Bibo had lived in a homeless shelter in Ottawa since early October and had applied for a passport. While they had not cornered a motive yet, authorities suspect it was related to his self-radicalization. Earlier, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper had promised to strengthen the nation's terror laws while declaring that Canada would be vigilant but not scared, prudent and not panic. The leader asked his MPs to speed up measures to toughen powers of surveillance and detention for the country's security agencies. And out of Wednesday's shooting rampage in the heart of Canada's capital, a hero emerged. Our Choi Yu-sun reports on the man credited with stopping the situation from getting much, much worse.
If it weren't for Sergeant-at-Arms Kevin Vickers, the armed assailant who rampaged in and nearby the Canadian Parliament on Wednesday may have claimed the lives of many of Canada's political leaders. The 58-year-old former Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer shot down the gunman who had stormed into the Parliament's center block just before 10 a.m. Soon after the incident, those who were inside the building tweeted, hailing the RCMP veteran for saving their lives. The Veterans Affairs Minister expressed gratefulness to Vickers for his selfless act, and the Justice Minister called him a true hero. Media outlets also dubbed Vickers a modern-day hero, as seen in interviews with his family and colleagues.
It was an extraordinary relief to know that he was okay, and at the same time very, very proud of what he had to do today.
People who had worked with Vickers in the past described him as a loyal and responsible man, and that they were not surprised to learn of his fearless act. The Sergeant-of-Arms, who's now in charge of protecting safety of the Parliament buildings, was previously responsible for the security of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Andrew. He had received several honors, such as the Queen's Jubilee Medal, and was present when President Park Geun-hye visited the Canadian Parliament last month. Choi Yu-sun, Arirang News.
The World Health Organization has reinforced that fighting and winning against the Ebola outbreak means stopping the transmission in West Africa, where nearly 4,900 people have succumbed to the hemorrhagic virus. The WHO Emergency Committee on Ebola, coming out of its third meeting in Geneva, said special attention also needed to be given to the health workers battling on the front lines, while recommending exit screenings at airports, seaports, and major land crossings in affected countries. The committee said arrival screenings, as implemented in the U.S., may have limited effect in the spread of the virus. In Brussels, the EU announced it will contribute $31 million for medical research. The African Union also said they will send 1,000 healthcare workers to support the fight against Ebola. And finally, media in Hong Kong are reporting that celebrities who have expressed their support for the pro-democracy protests, like Chow Yun-fat and Tony Leung, could be on a blacklist held by the government in Beijing. Apple Daily and others say that Chinese propaganda officials have drawn up a list of 47 celebrities and directed mainland Chinese media outlets to keep them out of the press. Jazz star Kenny G recently found himself in hot water after he tweeted a picture of himself at a protest site in Hong Kong, writing that he wished everyone a peaceful and positive conclusion to the situation. When Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying voiced displeasure, warning foreigners should not get involved in this illegal campaign, Kenny G insisted that he was not trying to defy the Chinese government.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off with the 2016 Rio Olympics. That's right, we're still 2 years away, but the Korea Football Association got an early start and named their head coach for the upcoming Olympics in 2016. And what was the worst-kept secret in the KFA, the association finally announced Jong as the head coach of the Olympic team, as the 50-year-old goes from coaching the Asian Games team to the Olympic team. Of course, head coach Lee led the Asian Games team to their first gold medal in 28 years in Incheon earlier this month, as fans begin to wonder if he'll one day coach the senior team as well. And speaking of the senior team, the national football team has dropped once again in the latest FIFA ranking, hitting their lowest ranking ever again. After hitting their lowest ranking at 63rd last month, the Korean national football team drops again, this time 3 spots, as they're now ranked 66th in the world. The latest FIFA ranking is the lowest ever recorded by the national team after losing to Costa Rica 3-1 earlier this month. And now shifting over to some domestic basketball action in the KBL, the Changwon LG Sakers beat the struggling Anyang KGC 81-75. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the undefeated Goyang Orions take on the Incheon Itilan Elephants. And just an incredible start to the game itself as Incheon outscores Hwoyang 33-22 with Ricardo Powell scoring 14 points just in the first half alone. Now with Incheon up 49-36 at the half, Hwoyang rise teared up in the second half with Troy Gillenwater putting up 26 points in the game as the Orions rallied to stay undefeated with an 81-79 victory. And now moving over to some Thursday night's V-League action, starting off in the Women's League, where Hyundai Hillstate took on Hunguk Life Insurance Pink Spiders. Now a lopsided first set in this one as Hyundai Hillstate takes the first set 25-14 before the Pink Spiders bounce back with a 25-16 second set win. With Hyundai Hillstate led by Polina Raminova's game-high 38 points, Hyundai Hillstate takes the next two sets for a 3-1 win. Now, meanwhile, over on the men's side here, the KEPCO Vic Storms taking on the Korean Air Jumbos. A close game all around, but with Korean Air's Michael Sanchez putting up a game-high 27 points, Korean Air takes this game in 3 sets, 3-0. And now finishing things off with the 2014 World Series as the Kansas City Royals and the San Francisco Giants faced off in Game 2 of the Best-of-7 series on Wednesday night. And what started off as a close game between the two teams, that all changed in the 6th inning when the American League champions scored 5 runs in the 6th inning, putting Omar Infante's 2-run home run as they win Game 2 7-2 to even the series at 1-1. Meanwhile, with the series going to San Francisco, Game 3 starters will be Jeremy Guthrie for the Kansas City Royals and Tim Hudson for the San Francisco Giants. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Very good Friday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun here with your latest weather updates. Well, we'll continue to enjoy beautiful autumn weather today under lots of sunshine, but some of the western regions and inland areas might wake up to light layers of fog this morning, which should burn off as the sun rises. And the morning lows are a bit higher than yesterday, kicking off in the double digits, and the highs will be also slightly milder than yesterday, reaching above 20 degrees Celsius. So a delightful autumn weather is in store for us this afternoon. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now the low in Seoul kicked off at 10, then the daytime high in the capital will be topping out at 21. Now that's a couple of degrees higher than yesterday, while Daegu and Gwangju, Busan all be rising to 22 under lots of sunshine. Now on to other regions. It looks like Jeju Island will be making to 21, while Daejeon and Dokdo will see highs of 20, and Mount Keungang climbs into 14 this afternoon. Well, it seems like a pleasant late autumn weather will persist through the weekend, so if you have any plans to be outdoors, weather should not be a problem. But that's all for Korea, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
And that's going to do it for us for now. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.